the Trance X Advanced E+ Elite. I think that's right. Have you ever heard of the concept of N+1? It's the idea that no matter how many bikes you have, there's always another bike out there that you want. There's always another bike out there that is better at a certain situation. And what Giant has attempted to do with this bike is to blur the lines of the neatly defined categories of e-bikes that we have now and make something that makes N equal N. Show me the B-roll! Reichert hair flip. So welcome back, and thanks for spending the next few minutes with us while we nerd out about this bike. But before we get into it, please subscribe to our channel, like the video. If you have questions or want to give any feedback, go ahead and throw it in the comments below. We'd love to have a dialogue about what's interesting to you, and if there's anything that we need to go back to the manufacturer and get an answer about, we're happy to do that. So let's have fun. All right, so before we get into exactly what this bike is, let's just refresh ourselves with the current landscape of e-mountain bikes. We have our full power bikes, right? 85 Newton meters of torque. We've got 650 plus watt hours of range. The bikes weigh, high 40s up into the 50s. That's a specific type of ride. The bikes are heavy, they ride heavy, but that gives you control. They're planted, they're fast, they're a ton of fun, right? In the last few years, we have this developing category of lightweight e-mountain bikes. Reduced power, so you have 35 to 60 Newton meters. To get the weight down, you have reduced range. You've got 320, 360, watt hour range, often with a range extender that you can add on, right? These are these two categories, both typically built on all mountain trail kind of versatile bikes. So here's category X, here's category Y. This bike comes in and it's X, Y, and Z. So when I first heard about this bike, the statistics that popped out to me were it's a 42-pound bike with a 400 watt-hour battery and 85 Newton meters of torque. That's kind of an interesting combination and gave me a lot of questions. I've been riding a lightweight Orbea Rise for a while and a full-power Santa Cruz Heckler for a while. The Rise is 37-ish pounds. My Heckler is about 47, 48 pounds. So this sits right in the middle, and I was very curious to feel how it rode relative to those. And turns out it rides very similar to the lightweight e-bikes, my Rise and other lightweight bikes that I've ridden. It has that same maneuverability, that same sensation that you're on a more normal acoustic bike. It didn't have any of the feelings of that really stuck to the ground, planted kind of downhill sled feel that a full power bike has. You didn't need to make the same corrections in braking. It had the same feel of a lightweight bike, which was pretty cool. So the second big element of this bike is this combination of battery, motor, and app that Giant has developed. Currently, if you were to take any of the existing full power batteries out there, 625, 675, 720, whatever, and just remove the cells to get it down to 400, that battery is too small to power a full power motor. So Giant worked with Panasonic to develop a battery that can handle that. So out of a smaller package, it has the ability to power a motor like this. So that is one of the first unique aspects of this bike, is this new technology, and that opens up a whole world where you can have full power and lightweight, and that's kind of what we haven't seen before. So the next really cool thing about this bike is the new Giant Ride app that helps you control this entire system and allows you to make the bike what you want it to be. There are three main adjustments that you can make for all the different levels. The typical adjustment that most brands have and most systems use is support, where you can control how much the motor is giving you in response to what you're putting in. That's pretty typical. But the next big thing is really cool. You can manage the max torque. So at each level that you have set, you can manage how much power, the maximum that it's gonna give you. So if you're riding with your full power friends, you can unleash the full power of the motor. If you have friends on mid-power, lightweight bikes, you can bring down that max to match what they have. And obviously, as you bring that down, that helps you extend the range. And the last big thing that's really cool is what Giant calls launch control. And that's basically how responsive is the motor to you accelerating. You can max out the launch control and the motor is super responsive and it throttles up really quickly to how you have it set. But if you want to extend the range and have a little bit more of a controlled acceleration, you can bring that launch control down and it takes several seconds to get up to whatever the max power that you have set. And again, Those last two adjustments, the max torque and the launch control, have a big impact on range. So you can bring those back down and help increase the range if that's the situation that you're in. So you have a ton of adjustability in the app to make this bike what you want. And then, like most bikes, the assist levels are controlled by the controller on the handlebar. Most bikes have 3 levels, right? An eco, some trail, or a boost mode. The Giant has 5 levels. So again, you can really dial in exactly what you want and when you want. So what does all that mean when you wrap it up? It really means versatility. Because it's a lightweight bike and rides like a lightweight bike, and the app's ability to adjust down the support, you can extend the range, and this bike has more battery capacity than your typical lightweight bike. On the other side, it has full power and can power a full power motor, but you still have the fun riding characteristics of a lightweight bike. So you're probably thinking what I thought when I first hopped on this. A full power bike with a 400 watt-hour battery, how long does this thing last? I maxed out all the settings and went full gas, and I got about an hour 15 out of it. But don't worry, we're gonna have range extenders for this bike where you can add another 200 watt hours. They only weigh 3 pounds, so you're gonna have a fairly lightweight 45, 46 pound, 600 watt hour, full power e-mountain bike. So again, versatility. So how does this thing feel on trail? Let's start off with the climbs. One of the fun parts about riding e-bikes is you can ride up steeper and more technical terrain than you probably can on an acoustic bike. And that's true with this bike, but it has an additional feature that is super, super cool. The Giant sync drive motor doesn't rely as heavily on cadence as most other traditional bikes. If you've ridden e-bikes, you'll know that you kind of hack the system a little bit by shifting up a couple gears and really spinning your pedals fast to engage the motor and give you the boost to get up something steeper technical. But what happens if you mess up? Your wheel spins on a slippery route, you come around a tight corner and you mess it up and you have to brake check. If your pedals stop, you're never gonna get that thing going again. The bike is too heavy and it needs the pedals to be spinning for the motor to engage. There were several times that I would make a mistake, my pedals would stall, and I would still be able to push my way out of it because it recognized the torque I was putting in, the motor kicked in, and I was able to ride up and out. So that was kind of a neat element of this bike that I have not experienced on e-bikes before. So because this bike is built on the Trance X, it's a super fun, versatile, capable, all-around trail bike. The Maestro suspension is very active, so you're able to pedal and brake through situations and still allow the suspension to continue to work. So it's fun, it's great, it does good at all the things. So if it's not clear already, this bike's all about versatility. And which rider is this going to appeal to? One of the drawbacks of these defined categories of e-bikes is it's really hard to mix. If you're on a lightweight bike, it's hard to ride with your full power friends, and if you're on a full power bike, it's kind of hard to ride with your lightweight friends, and forget trying to ride with people on acoustic bikes. But because this bike blurs the lines, it allows you to ride with anybody. It can be the full power bike, it can be the lightweight bike, and you have all the adjustability in between. But one thing this bike is not are the extremes. If you need a 60 pound, 170 mil full power, 900 watt hour battery, full sled, that's not this. This stops at aggressive trail biking. And it's not a super light 120 mil kind of EXC bike that you're starting to see. But for all of the fun in the middle mountain biking that most of us do, this bike hits all of those categories without making any compromises. And that's the cool part. And speaking of compromises, one of my favorite things about the spec of this bike is they did not cut any corners to get the weight down. They didn't use spec to get the weight down. So the rotors, the dropper length, the suspension, the tires are all appropriately spec'd for it to give you the ability to ride pretty aggressively and not be underbiked. So speaking of spec, there's a wide range of models in this bike. Under the Giant Trance X name, you've got 4 models from $6,000 up to $14,000. That's the $14,000, the zero level. It's got the Kashima, Fox live valve, really cool Zip Moto wheels. It even has Tire Whiz built on there. The thing is pretty perfect all around. If you have specific spec questions, you can check out our listings on mikespikes.com. You can come on in and check them out on the showroom floor. I've had more time on this bike before we've done one of these launch videos than any other bike, so I've had a lot of time to kind of dig deep. I wanted to spend some time to understand all of its intricacies and all of the things that make it unique. So please, if you have questions, I'd love to nerd out with you in the comments, throw them down below, and let's have some fun. Cheers, see you at the next one. pointing over here, but I don't even know where the like button is.
We can put a like button wherever.
Yeah, okay. And forget trying to ride with people on acoustic bikes. Who has friends with acoustic bikes? Those aren't friends, ditch them.